Yo, what is going on, everybody? Reality Alex here, back at again with a brand new video, and today we're going to be going over my top 10 Overwatch League teams for the second season of the Overwatch League. Now, I just want to thank everybody for the support on my other video, which is the power rankings from number 20 to 11. It was a pretty good video. Besides, it was a little bit like rough at parts, and also the intermissions weren't the best, so I will be working on my intermissions between the teams for this video. But overall, I just want to get the the top end of the Overwatch League power rankings over with. I know a lot of people have been wanting to see my top 10 Overwatch League teams. Now, I have come to the realization that power rankings don't really matter too much at all. To be honest, we're just gonna be wrong anyways, but it's fun to speculate, and obviously I'm gonna be wrong with probably like over half these teams. They're gonna be in a different place, but I think that as of right now, this is how the teams are looking like in the top end of the Overwatch League. But there are going to be some controversial teams on this list at where I put them, but I'll try to explain my best for the reasoning on why I put them there. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this list, so let's just go on. So coming in at number 10, we have the team from Korea, the Seoul Dynasty. Now, the Seoul Dynasty overall is a very solid roster. There's a few players that I believe are washed up in my opinion. So for the roster, all the heroes are covered. Very flexible roster. So going on to their players, they have Zumba, Ryujaeong, Toby, Fleta, Munchkin, Fisher, Michelle, Marvel, Jesse, and Fitz. Now overall, I like this roster. It's not like insane, but it's not bad. I definitely can see this team going into the playoffs, but I see a few things that need to work on before I can put them into the playoffs. Now, if we look at their main tank, that is perfectly fine. Fissure is a top 3 main tank from the first season of the Overwatch League, and there's no reason for him to be bad right now. But the problem that I see with this team is that they have 2 different tank lines. They have Zumba and Fisher, and then Michelle and Marvel, and they can't keep on moving these players in and out because they need to build synergy, and tank lines are probably the most important thing in the Overwatch League. So it's just they need to keep it Fisher and Zumba, in my opinion. I think they are both very talented and can make for a pretty good tank line. Now, I do like that they got rid of all their coaches from last season because they had just way too many cooks in the kitchen syndrome. They ended up getting a new head coach, KDG, and then they got a few assistant coaches. Overall, it doesn't look like too much of an improvement for the coaching staff, but I do like that there's less coaches, because there's just too many ideas going around in the team, and that was a problem because I'm not really sure if the players ever knew exactly what they had to do, because there's so many things that they pretty much were told to do, but not like a set plan. And also, a lot of their players were getting subbed in and out for various reasons, but it didn't really make sense. Like Fleta being subbed out for no reason because he's arguably one of the best players on this roster, and many things. I think that it's just consistency for me and who they are going to run. That's just a problem for me, and I need to see it to believe it for them to be a playoff team. But if they can prove me wrong, I can definitely see this team going top 5. Going on to number 9, we have the Hangzhou Spark. Now, the Hangzhou Spark are actually quite a good team, and I can actually see them going higher on this list, but it's just a few players need to prove me they just need to prove themselves. Not really prove me wrong, because I know that they're going to be great, but they just need to prove themselves a little bit more. But they have Gushway, No Smite, Adora, Rhea, Bazzi, Godsby, IDK, Revenge, Crystal, and Bebe. Uh, First thing that comes to mind for me is that they have 2 Chinese players and a bunch of Koreans. So as long as the Chinese people can, speak well Korean, I don't think that'll be really a problem. 2 very talented Chinese players, Gu Shui looking like one of the best main tanks. Crystal was a very good DPS on the Chinese World Cup team. Now, I really like this support line. We got IDK, Bebe, and Revenge. IDK is the one that stands out the most for me, but the rest of them are no sleeper picks. No Smite, I don't see him getting too much playtime because there's Gushwei on the team, but if they want to go for a full Korean lineup, then they'd go with No Smite, but I really don't see why they would do that with how talented Gushwei is. Adora, very good DPS player. Rhea, very good player. Bazzi, very good. You've probably heard of him. Godspeed, you've probably even heard of him. He might be one of the best new players coming into the Overwatch League. Not many people know him, but trust me, he's going to be very, very good. So overall, I really like this team. Their head coach is Mask, and they've got 2 assistant coaches, Supreme and Yindong. That's kind of a funny name, Yindong. But their head coach comes from X6 Gaming. They were a pretty good team in Korean Contenders. They weren't the best, but they certainly weren't the worst. They had pretty fair showing. Supreme comes from 7, just 7. Also pretty good Korean Contenders team. And Yindong comes from LGD Gaming from Contenders. So overall, this coaching staff isn't too bad. I would like to see a little bit more coaching, but I guess that's it for the organization, so let's just move on. Moving on to number 8 is a team that will surprise a few of you guys, but I think a lot of the new power rankings coming out are actually putting this team a lot lower than the old ones. San Francisco Shock is at number 8 on my list. Now, the San Francisco Shock are quite a good team. They're one of the most improved teams from Overwatch League Season 1 coming into Season 2. So on DPS, they have 5 DPS. They have Striker, Rascal, Sinatra, Baby Bay, and Architect. These are very talented DPS players. I don't see Baby Bay or Sinatra getting much playtime. I see Architect playing over Rascal for most of it, but I definitely can see Rascal in playtime, and I think Striker is the best hit scan on this team. But the problem is, these players are going to want playtime, and it feels like they just picked up every single DPS player that they could find that was good, and didn't even realize that they had 5 DPS, and were like, oh crap, we've got 5 DPS. I don't know why they did this. They just kind of opened up their checkbook and just bought a bunch of random players from all over the place, and was like, okay, looks like we're gonna be a good team now, right? And then also Violet is getting hyped up way too much. I do not think that he'll be anywhere close to Jonak's level, but I can definitely see him being close to Unko or Sleepy's level. But he already has himself suspended for a few games, so that's unfortunate for the team. But we'll see who plays. I definitely think that they might want to go with Sleepy, but we'll see what happens there. Maybe Violet's way better than Sleepy, but whatever. But also another question arises. They've got a bunch of Korean players and a bunch of Western players, but it looks like a lot of their Western players aren't as good as their Korean players. So you're going to have Moth in there no matter what. He's the only main support. So you can't go with the full roster of Koreans and then Moth. Because are you going to be speaking English? Because if you're going to speak Korean, no way Moth is going to be speaking Korean to you guys. And Moth really wants to shot call. He's a shot caller. He's going to want to shot call. So that brings up another question. Tank line, main tank doesn't look too strong. Super was about an average main tank. Sometimes he looked a little bit above average. Sometimes he looked below average. it's really hard to say how good Super will be. Smurf, no one really knows anything about him. He could be pretty good, but I don't see him being like a god tier main tank. Uh, just I don't see it happening. And main tank is probably the most important role on the team. It really brings the team together, and I'm not really sure what they're gonna do in a Goats meta without, you know, a dominant main tank. But you know, maybe one of them comes out and is just amazing. But we'll have to see what happens. On the off tank position, we have Joyobin and Nevix. So Nevix is very underrated. I think he's a pretty good off tank. I don't think he's one of the best, but he's definitely above average at the very least. And then Choyobin, most people are agreeing that Choyobin will probably get the playtime over him. But then we got another situation where we've got two players competing for the same role, and what are they going to do? We have no clue who exactly is going to be playing on their starting roster besides Moth, because he's the only player who is like guaranteed his role. So that's a big issue, and they pretty much need a perfect coaching staff and organization to pull this one off, because it's going to be another London Spitfire if their organization isn't just like, you know, 9,000 IQ. The only thing that I see definitely upgraded for this team is that their DPS lineup is better than last season, but that's about it. I'm not sure how good that's going to be in the upcoming meta. There is talk that there's going to be a high DPS meta, but then there's also like a lot of goats going around, and we're not really sure how they're going to do. It's just like they need to build up a lot of synergy. So in the first half of the season, I think that they will be an above average team, but certainly not the best, maybe at points below average actually. And then going into the second half of the season, when they kind of just explode and get rid of some of their players, and you know, maybe pick up a player or something, kind of like the London Spitfire when in stage 4 they completely got rid of like a bunch of their players, then I can see this team actually being top 3, because I think it could be another LA Valiant in like stage 4. So yeah, that's it for the San Francisco Shock. I definitely think that this team is very, very good. It's just like a few parts besides the DPS that is just not very good, and they have too many players competing for the same role. Remember, most of their players aren't going to be able to play on the starting lineup that are considered to be the best players on the team, because you can only have 6 players playing at once in the Overwatch League. And going into a GOATS meta, which apparently their best players are the DPS players, I'm not sure how much playtime the DPS all-stars on this team are going to get in a GOATS meta. We'll see what happens. You know, maybe DPS gets played. Going on to number 7, we have the Dallas Fuel. Now this one is pretty much a dark horse for the league in a way, because like a lot of people think that this team is going to either be amazing or actually be quite bad. Now I see this team being quite good, because I see everything aligning up for this team after seeing Zachary's performance against the London Spitfire today. Was a really good Hangzhou, and his Genji also was very good. So I don't see a problem for the projectile in this lineup anymore. Like, if Zachary can play a pretty good projectile against the London Spitfire, I definitely can see this team being quite good. Now, going on, I think that this team is great. I love the tank line of OGE and RCK. Also, Mickey can sub in, you know, maybe for Roadhog or Brigitte, if he's still good at Brigitte. We'll see what happens. But Mickey overall, I think that he's like a mentality player on this team. I think that his mentality is great. He brings a lot of just happiness to the team overall, brings up the moral, and really just like makes the team laugh. Now, going on to the main tank, who I think is the best player on this team, which is kind of controversial, because there's a lot of players on this team besides OGE who can be considered to be the best player on this team, like Closer, like Unco, and like Effect. But overall, I think that OGE just has everything for him. I think that he is the best main tank in the league, because Not only is his Reinhardt and Winston just absolutely insane, but he can also play a really good Orisa. And if you've seen his Wrecking Ball, he's one of the best. So he plays all four main tanks and at a very high level. And also, just his English is like pretty much fluent. His shot calling is great. There's like not much that you can say bad about this player, and also his mentality. And he also jokes around in game, so he really, makes the team laugh, just like Mickey. So, OG overall is just an insane player, and he's going to help this team win a lot of games in season 2. RCK very underrated, mostly because not many people have seen him play, because he played in European contenders, and let's be honest, not many people watch European contenders. But he was a very, very good diva on Gigante, a huge reason why they won a lot of matches. And overall, RCK's diva, Zarya, and also his flexibility on DPS heroes pretty much replaces Seagull. I don't think his diva will be as good as Seagull, but I think that he's very close to Seagull and become even better than Seagull. I really like the pickup of RCK, and I'm excited to see him play. I do see why people think that he's not going to be a very good replacement to Seagull, but in my opinion, he is. Going on to their DPS, we have 4 DPS players. Good. I know a lot of people are actually underrating Effect. They're saying that he's not very good, which completely shocks me, because if you see in the first 3 stages, Effect was popping off pretty much the whole entire time on several heroes like Widowmaker, like McCree, like Tracer, like Doomfist, like Reaper. He was a very good player, but unfortunately he was put into many circumstances where he was just with a really bad team, and I don't think that those problems will happen this season. If they get a good amount of wins, Effect will be one of the best players in the league, because his mentality will continue to be very strong, and that's what I see will happen. He also plays a very good Genji and Pharah, which a lot of people don't know, but he does. I think that's it that I want to talk about for the DPS line. Taimu is a very talented hit scan, and at his peak, he's known to be probably the best player on his role, on his peak, but he has to be on his peak. So it's just consistency for Taimu, and really just working on his mentality, just like Effect. I'm going to take in consideration about Effect's mentality. If something goes wrong with the team and Effect starts blowing up, this team automatically drops like 3 or 4 positions. I'm not even kidding, but I see it all working out for the team, especially after looking at their support line, which is next. We have Harry Hook and Closer, also Unko. I don't know why I said it in that order, because obviously Unko and Closer are the starters for this team, but Harry Hook is nobody to sleep on. He is quite underrated in my opinion. I think that his main support is very good, but it's just not as good as Closer. Closer, he's very mechanically skilled, one of the best in the world, top 5 in my opinion for the main support, and also his shot calling is known to be very, very good. But overall, the mechanical skill and just the teamwork of Unko and Closer should be insane. Unko, one of the best flex supports in the league, probably top 5. I'd say he's the best Western flex support, and then Closer, he's a top 5 main support in the league. They both don't die much, they both pop off, they both put out a lot of healing, and when they're on damage like Zenyatta, putting out a lot of damage. Overall, this roster is quite strong. I'm going to stop talking about them very soon, but I also want to go over their organization. So basically, just actually their coaching staff. So coming in at head coach, we have Arrow. Arrow, very good head coach. A little bit, underrated after the World Cup, but I think that people are just trying to figure out a reason to say that Arrow is bad, which really he's not. He's a very good head coach, and there's no reason to say he's bad. His track record is very good, besides that one game against the UK. Like, come on, guys. Come on. You can do better than this. Anyways, I think Arrow is still one of the best head coaches in the league. He's definitely the best Western head coach. Vol'jin, a very good assistant coach. Not many people know him very well, but he does bring in that Korean position in the coaching staff. Jane, everybody knows Jane. He's a very smart guy. It's gonna be interesting to see how good he does in the league. I think that he'll be quite good, judging off of his analysis videos and streams. We'll have to see what happens with Jane. I think he'll be quite a good assistant coach. And also Tickety and Coco are in there. Don't know too much about Tickety, but Coco definitely brings in a lot of experience and also brings in a lot of strategy to this team. Coco is very creative when it comes to comps. So it's going to be interesting to see what Coco brings into this team. Arrow has it very organized. We have Arrow bringing in basically the final decisions and bringing it all together. Coco will be working on the tanks. Tickety will be working on DPS, I'm pretty sure. Jane will be working on supports, and I think Vol'jin, I'm not really exactly sure what Vol'jin does again, but he also has his role. I just can't remember at this moment. And yeah, that is the Dallas Fuel at number 7. I kind of rambled on a little too long for the Dallas Fuel. I think you guys get it by now. Number 7, they could be lower, they could be higher. In my opinion, everything works out. Going on to number 6, we have the Philadelphia Fusion. Now the Philadelphia Fusion are quite a solid team. You have Carpe, EQO, Snillo, Poco, Fraggy, Sato, Boombox, Neptuno, and Elk. Overall, I think Carpe, EQO, Poco, Neptuno, and Elk are quite strong players. Elk, he's on 2A, so I don't expect him to see too much playing time. Support line, it's pretty good. Like, it's not the best in the league. I don't think that Boombox is a top 10 support, really. But, you know, Neptuno is definitely one of the best main supports in the league. Poco, one of the best flex tanks in the league. EQO, very good projectile player. Carpe, one of the best, if not the best, hit scan in the league. And yeah, I just like this roster. I think that they're going to bring in a lot from Season 1 into the next season. It's just there's not a lot of improvements to the overall roster or coaching staff, so I can't put them higher than number 6. I could see them falling down a little bit more. I don't really see them going any higher because they just need to work on consistency. Consistency is what they need to work on, and if they're not consistent in Season 2, they will fall down a few more spots than number 6. They just gotta work on consistency. You've got rid of a bunch of players, so this should help you work on consistency. Yeah, for the Philadelphia Fusion, their roster's overall quite solid. Their coaching staff is quite solid. It's all consistency from now on. If they work on their consistency, then they'll be quite a strong team. We'll see what happens with the Philadelphia Fusion. That is Philadelphia Fusion at number 6. Going on to number 5, we have the Vancouver Titans. Now the Vancouver Titans are what was called in Contenders Runaway. So this is Runaway with Vancouver Titans slapped onto it. Honestly, this team is very solid with their roster. I see them being quite strong. I can definitely see them falling off, like a lot of people are suggesting. But as of right now, I think that it makes sense to put them at number 5. They're a full Korean roster. They don't have the hardest upcoming matches. And yeah, overall quite a solid team. It's just Runaway with Repel added onto it. And I like this team. I'll go over their players real quick. At DPS, we have Haxel, Hureg, Seominsu, and Stitch. At Flex, they have Janu. At Tank, they have Bumper. At Support, they have Repel, Slime, and Twilight. Overall, quite a solid team. I'm excited to see them play. It's quite short. They do have a coaching staff that I want to go over. Going on to their coaching staff, they have Paejeon at head coach. They have Yang1 at assistant coach and Harsha at assistant coach. I'm sure you've heard of Harsha. overall, quite a solid team. I'm excited to see them play in Season 2. I'm excited to see if they can live up to expectations. I don't have too many concerns about the Vancouver Titans. They do have Hureg on their roster that has some Overwatch League experience, so maybe he can bring some of that into the Vancouver Titans. But overall, I think this team will be quite strong, and I'm excited to see them play in Season 2. Going on to number 4, we have the Los Angeles Valiant. Now, the Los Angeles Valiant has an overall solid roster. A lot of people are concerned about the fact that they lost soon, and I'm not really concerned too much about it because I can see exactly where they're moving this roster. So basically, Kareev has been moved from support to DPS, so he'll be able to play hit scan. They also have Bunny, who's still a very good hit scan on this team. Maybe not exactly as good as Soon, but he's still pretty close, I'd say. KSF can also help with replacing Soon, and Izzyaki is now the flex support for the team, and I have no concerns about Izzyaki. I've seen him play. He is insane, and I've heard a lot of good things about Izzyaki. This guy could very well be a top 5 flex support in the league. They also picked up Kuki to be, you know, like a backup main tank to Fate. Don't bring him in too much. I don't want to see him in the, you know, the lineup unless Fate just can't play. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens there. They did get rid of quite a bit of coaches, but they still have a lot of coaches left over, and I think that they'll be fine. So yeah, you have a head coach, you have Moon, assistant coach, you have Stoop, Dongsu, Packing 10. At director of player performance, you have Doug. Something like that. I don't know. Dr. Doug Gardner. Okay, whatever. Overall, excited to see how well the Valiant perform, if they can live up to my expectations. I see everything working well with them. They still have one of the best tank lines in the league. You have Fate and Space. You still have Agilities, who's quite a solid projectile DPS. You still have Custa, who has some of the best comms in the league and some of the best leadership skills. And overall, I'm excited to see how this team does in Season 2, to see if they can live up to my expectations of them, because I think that they're going to do pretty good without Soon, because they've replaced him from pretty much last season. They replaced him last season, basically, you know. They won the division last season. They won the division last season, so you can't sleep on this team too much. At number 3, we have the Los Angeles Gladiators. Now, the Los Angeles Gladiators are overall quite a strong team. You have Surefour, Hydration, Bishu, Shaz, and Big Goose, Void, DK, Roar, Reaper, and Panker. So you have the finished trio now for supports. I'm completely fine with that. I think Reaper is a very good Ana. Shaz and Big Goose are still an amazing support line. Surefour is still a very good hit scan. Hydration and DK are both very good DPS players, and Roar and Panker are 2 very good replacements for Fisher. Now, Panker, he's probably not going to get very much playtime unless Roar is sick or just not able to play. Roar is such a good pickup. He's probably not going to be, you know, one of the best players in the league, but he's still going to be a very good main tank, and I think that he replaces Fisher quite well. So yeah, that is the Los Angeles Gladiators at number 3. I think their coaching staff is still pretty solid, and I'm excited to see the Los Angeles Gladiators perform in Season 2. Going on to our top 2, this is like the 2 most important places. This is the 2 teams that I think are going to basically be the finals. Going on to number 2, it's the London Spitfire. Now, I would put the London Spitfire above New York Excelsior if they were more consistent in Season 1. Now, they weren't very consistent in Season 1, so I don't have them over New York Excelsior. They still have a very solid roster. You got Birdring, Prophet, Fury, Gesture, Bedosin, Nuss, Guard, and Krillin. I'm excited to see if Gesture can perform on Rhine, because people are saying that his Rhine is complete trash, which is big news to me. We'll see what happens. I still think that they still have some very good players. You got Birdring, Prophet, Fury, Gesture, Bedosin, Nuss. Basically, all their players from Season 1 are all-stars, and it's pretty easy to see that. I like the pickup of Guard, because when Birdring isn't performing, you just put Guard in there, and there you go. You got a replacement for Birdring when he's not consistent. So for Krillin, I don't see him getting any playtime, to be honest. I think Bedosin is still one of the best flex supports in the league. I think he's just behind Jonak. That's literally it. He's the second best flex support in the league, in my opinion. So yeah, that is the London Spitfire. At number 1, it's obviously the New York Excelsior. The reason why they're up here is because their whole roster is all-stars, and also they're going to be very consistent. And I think this season they learned from their mistakes from last season. This is the team that I think wins the league in Season 2. There's literally, let me read out the players on New York. Sabiolbi, Pine, Libero, Meko, Nano, Jonek, Arc, Animo, Flower, and Nene. These are all people that you would consider all-stars. You know, maybe Flower wasn't the best player on XL2 Academy, but we're going to see if he can perform to his standards that he actually used to be at during the World Cup in 2017. Their coaching staff is still very good, even without Wizard Young, and I'm excited to see how good the New York Excelsior does in Season 2. I think that they win the whole league. So yeah, that's my top 10 Overwatch League teams. If you agree with my list, nice. If you don't agree with my list, you know, tell me in the comment section below what you don't agree with and what you think that I could work on with my videos. I will be making a week 1 prediction video. I think I'm just going to upload that tomorrow, honestly. Slap a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and if you didn't like it, go ahead, dislike the video. It doesn't really matter. It's nice to see how people feel about my video, and yeah, and don't forget to keep it reality.